Attention all armchair historians. I know you're lurking from the shadows and reading this. Ever heard of British comedy series called An Idiot Abroad? It's got an ongoing similar theme, in which viewers learn it's sometimes pointless to go abroad. All you've demonstrated is your journeys never broaden your horizons. You have only expanded your prejudice, so it's little surprise that instead of talking history you're promoting conspiracy theories. It would be helpful if you were to do some proper research before you make your videos though. You're a prominent pundit who has parlayed accusations of anti-Semitism and Holocaust denial. Starting with Poland, let me summarize the Mickey Mouse history featured in your videos. You say the Poland's government has approved a new bill that foresees prison terms of up to 3 years for anyone who uses phrases such as Polish death camps or Polish concentration camps to refer to Auschwitz and other camps that Nazi Germany operated in occupied Poland during WW2. That's true, but then you add your false narrative. You foolishly claim this is because Poland was complicit and collaborated with the Nazis and didn't have concentration camps. You say Poland now wants to hide it by criminalizing everyone who dares to speak the truth. You make false videos and write offensive articles in which you say the present Polish government is immensely sensitive about any mention of Polish concentration camps. Indeed, it is now illegal in Poland even to use the expression. Anybody talking or writing of Polish concentration camps can expect to find themselves in court. One can readily understand why Poland is so touchy about this subject. After all, Poland, like Nazi Germany, pioneered the use of concentration camps during the 1930s, a fact that one is now officially forbidden to remember. This is a lie, and you have been rebuked even by Ambassador of Poland, that you run deliberate misinformation campaign. You since never stopped your relentless misinformation campaign. On the contrary, you doubled down on spinning your lies. The only problem is you are peddling same crazy conspiracy theory which is as stupid and offensive as wooden doors. 1. It was Poles who provided the greatest assistance to the Jews. You make yourself look like a plonker, not a historian, when you're spinning it other way around. You're suggesting Poles were up to their neck collaborating with the Nazis. You're not debunking history. You're creating a fake one. For information, Bereza Kartuska, which you spoke of in the past, was not a Polish concentration camp either. You want to go down as historian? Good, then try to educate yourself to a certain level. A level where your channel will not resemble some loony Jeremy Kyle show. It was thanks to reports drawn up by Poles, Captain Bilecki and Officer Karski, that the world learnt about the Holocaust. Both volunteered to enter Auschwitz-Birkenau as part of the command of the Polish Underground Army and began to send reports on the situation in the German death camp. Bilecki sent a number of intelligence reports and established a resistance movement in Auschwitz. The real reason behind passing this whole Holocaust bill in Poland was due to relentless and misleading press campaign distorting historical truth, repeatedly pulling false image in front of more distant younger generations who you hope will incorrectly assume that Poles were responsible for the death camps. Only in the United States alone, 4 major news organizations had to be reminded to endorse use of the expression German concentration camps in Nazi-occupied Poland. Unfortunately, the expression Polish concentration camps and other statements accusing the Polish nation, contrary to the facts, of complicity in the Holocaust appear in the public arena all over the world. Poland's legal regulations modeled on the laws of other countries as well as diplomatic activity to make it possible to rectify this harmful fallacy. Many Poles were killed as punishment for assisting Jews during the Second World War. This is why Poland had to prevent all attempts to accuse its people, contrary to the facts, of responsibility for the Holocaust. This was a fight for the truth about the Second World War and the crimes committed against the Jews at that time. The whole world owes this truth both to the victims of the Second World War and to those who died as heroes to save other people. This relentless campaign only stopped when courts got involved. you repeat the same propaganda. Secondly, you also imply Ukrainians were involved up to their necks in the murder of Jews and ran death camps. It is true that large parts of Ukraine did collaborate with the Nazis. There is no doubt about that. What you do, however, is you lie about the extent of their involvement. You put the blame almost entirely on Ukrainians, and you are trying to make Nazism an acceptable political alternative today. You have recently said, if Hitler didn't have a bee in his bonnet about Jews, then you'd find most of Nazi program for revitalizing the nation quite sensible. You even have audacity to tell my children and people whose parents come from ethnic backgrounds that it wouldn't be such a bad idea to strip them off their citizenship like Nazis did with the Jews. You also deliberately forget that Trawniki men in Treblinka death camp consisted of both volunteers as well as captured prisoners of war. You even want to water it down by separating Kapo from Trawniki men. Sorry, fake historian, but Trawniki men were all Kapo. Either you genuinely not know enough, or you refuse to recognize it because of your anti-Ukrainian agenda. SS system minimized costs by allowing camps to function with fewer SS staff. It was designed to turn victim against victim, a dog eat dog, as the Kapo were pitted against their fellow prisoners. If they said no, they would be demoted and the tables would turn. They would become Kapo's subjects. You're holding all Ukrainians responsible for Holocaust, and you even have audacity to say they ran Treblinka's death camp. This is nothing but a lie. Your parasitic videos and anti-Ukrainian venom needs to be curbed robustly. Responsibility for Holocaust lies solely on the Nazis. In 16 countries across the world, defamation and insult of the state is punishable. Many other legal systems, including the Israeli one, have similar regulations that prohibit disseminating lies about the Holocaust and punish them with imprisonment. This is also the case with Poland. Holocaust denial currently also includes false statements about Polish death camps or unsupported accusations of Poland's responsibility for the Holocaust, which diminish the fault of the actual perpetrators of those crimes. I cannot allow you to defy the memory of those victims with false accusations of the responsibility or complicity of the Polish nation and the Polish state in the crimes committed by the Nazis. No respectable Jew, not even Zionist, would ever say the lies you have. Ever. To preserve the historical truth, we must prevent diminishing the extent of the Nazi crimes, perpetuating false stereotypes, blurring the true role of Nazi Germany in the crimes committed against Jewish and Polish citizens, as well as confusing the boundaries between the perpetrators of the crimes and their victims. Neither, of course, should we avoid the truth about people who betrayed their compatriots and assisted in organized genocide, even if they represented only a tiny minority of the whole nation. Some Trawniki men did volunteer, and yes, they were Ukrainian nationals, but a large portion of them were actually prisoners of war pitted against one another. If you were a real historian, you would have known another large portion of Ukrainian Trawniki men were the prisoners, who were actually recruited from the ranks of violent criminal gangs rather than from the more numerous political, religious, and racial prisoners. They were not ordinary civilians but convicted murderers or violent criminal gangs. The truth is, such criminal convicts were known for their brutality towards other prisoners. This brutality was tolerated by the SS and was an integral part of the camp system. Kapo were spared physical abuse and hard labor, as long as they performed their duties to the satisfaction of the SS. They also had access to certain privileges, such as civilian clothes and a private room, and those things operated in death camps limited weapons. I never heard you mention any of this. Instead, you misinform your viewers as to why the law criminalized use of the expressions Polish death camp and Polish concentration camp. You never explain the amendments prohibited use of the expression Polish concentration camp in relation to camps operated by the Polish government after the war on sites of former Nazi camps. You also failed to mention the fact that in 16 countries across the world, defamation and insult of the state is also punishable. Many other legal systems, including the Israeli one, have similar regulations that prohibit disseminating lies about the Holocaust and punish them with imprisonment. This is also the case with Poland. Holocaust denial law in Poland includes false statements about Polish death camps or unsupported accusations of Poland's responsibility for the Holocaust, which diminish the fault of the actual perpetrators of those crimes. You falsely claim that Trawniki men in Sobibor and Treblinka were all Ukrainians. That's a lie. They have been prosecuted and you have clearly missed out on the fact they have been trialed. Most of the Trawniki men came from prisoners of war, but some of them were German nationals from Eastern Europe. They've also been recruited among other prisoners of war from Lithuania, Latvia, Romania. Other Trawniki men were Belarusians, Russians, Estonians, Armenians, Azerbaijanis, Georgians and Tatars. You said they've all been volunteers and got paid. You also never mention the fact that in 1950, the new state of Israel passed the Nazis and Nazi collaborators punishment law. Under the law, Jewish Ghetto and members of the Ghetto Jewish Council were put on trial for crimes against the Jewish people and crimes against humanity. The largely forgotten history of these trials has pivotal importance for our changing sense of what it meant to be a Jew during the Holocaust. This story takes us to what Primo Levi, Jewish Holocaust survivor, described as the gray zone of the Holocaust. Life in which Jews, fighting for survival, faced many moral ethical dilemmas and choiceless choices. We never heard this from you. A real historian would have taken responsibility for his words, but not you. You're not a historian, Simon Webb. You're a brutal and deceitful savage who constantly throws mud at the wall to see what sticks. Time to own it and apologize for your words.